Hello there and welcome to the Bicycle Diaries. You join me today on a fairly overcast ride. Not really sure how far I'm going today. Might be 30 kilometers, might be 40. Depends a lot on the weather. But I'm basically heading out on my Southwick route and I might do a little bit of a detour to kind of extend it. I'll jump straight in with something that's been bubbling for the last couple of weeks or so. Had a comment on one of the vlogs from somebody called Kay Smith about the kilometres and miles debate, and we had a fairly lengthy conversation in the thread, and long story short, he's offered to donate £50 to a charity of my choice if I mention our conversation on the bike in one of my vlogs. So yeah, check out the conversation. If you can comment as well if you are in the UK or the US. Obviously they're countries that use miles and not kilometers, and just say whether you use miles or kilometers yourself, and say perhaps why you use the system you do. And Kay Smith, thank you very much for your very kind offer of a donation to charity. I'd like it to go to Cancer Research UK. Thank you very much. Roads are pretty mucky and horrible, but at least it's not raining at the moment. Temperature's about 9 degrees Celsius, which isn't too bad for mid-February here in the UK. I'm wrapped up nice and warm, thankfully, so I'm not feeling too cold, but it is kind of threatening to rain. I can feel a couple of raindrops, so if it starts raining torrentially, then I might just have to cut the ride short. But yeah, like I say, I'm aiming for about 30 or 40 kilometers depending on my route. This is actually my third ride of the week. First one was on Wednesday, I think, when I did another RGT session on the turbo trainer indoors. And then I went out on, I think, Thursday and did 40 kilometers on my Harting Hill run. And today I'm out on this ride. And it's absolutely amazing because it's the first time I've done 2 actual road rides in a week for a very, very long time. My ride out to Harting was actually quite interesting. A couple of rides ago I was doing Cap Formentor virtually on RGT, and I was experimenting with the weight setting. Basically I'd set it to 50 kilos and it was allowing me to go up 4% climbs with a 90 revs cadence. and I just wondered how that compared to actually out on the road. So when I did my Harting ride, I went up a couple of climbs and my ratio, my cadence was about 90 on those 4% climbs. So all right, so it seems that although my weight certainly isn't 50 kilos, the setting is more or less accurate to what I can actually pedal. Welcome to the Hampshire countryside. The other thing I found quite interesting about my Harting ride was just the fact that I was doing a 40-kilometre ride non-stop. Last time I rode that was with Tell, and we stopped for refreshments kind of halfway through, so it was a good test to see how I did, and I thought I did okay. Didn't feel too bad afterwards, but the problems I was having were mainly with my shorts. They started to feel a bit uncomfortable, and then my right cleat also gave way, which made pedaling somewhat challenging. Well, there's the rain. Let's just hope it's a passing shower. Thankfully that was just a passing shower, and it cleared up in about 2 or 3 minutes, so it wasn't too bad. Just descended Pitymoor Lane there. I'm normally climbing up that, so it's very nice to come down it, and it's surprisingly steep. You kind of have an idea of how steep something is when you're climbing up it, but I suppose it's only when you're descending it that you really see how steep it is. Because these little lanes around Southwick are nicely tucked out of the way, you'd expect them to be nice and quiet, particularly as we're still on lockdown, but that's not quite the case. I suspect people are using them as sneaky little back routes to get away from the prying eye of the authorities when they shouldn't actually be out driving. The other thing about them, of course, is they're incredibly muddy and quite hilly, with some really short, sharp little climbs. I'm not trying to push things too hard today. My strategy is to kind of let my feet find their own pedalling rhythm, although trying to keep it as close to my kind of home cadence of about 90-95 revs, and then adjusting the gears to suit. If the climbs start to get a bit too steep, then obviously I'll have to slow down a bit, but so far it's working well. Unfortunately, another unwanted side effect of these roads being so quiet is that you tend to get fly tippers. Horrible. Well, it was back to civilization there for a brief moment as we were riding on the slightly busier roads around Denmead, and now I've kind of crossed the town and I'm on the back lanes again, heading to Whitehorse Lane, do the climb there, and then I'm practically home. As you can probably see, my shoes are shockingly dirty. Thankfully I'm not wearing my new white ones. I call those my hissy fit shoes because I would go into a bit of a meltdown if I got those dirty. These are the old ones, and yeah, I can let those get dirty.
So there we go, that's 35 kilometers in the bank of fitness. A bit further than I was expecting, but then not quite as far as I would have liked. I also noticed something rather curious with the altitude. If you look at the relive here, it says I only climbed 221 meters. But then if you look at this ride on Strava, I've climbed 398 meters. That's not just a little bit of a difference, that's either double or half depending on how you look at it. So that ride brings the weekly totals to, I've ridden 93 kilometers, I've got 4 hours and 18 minutes of seat time, and I've climbed 832 meters. And that brings the year's total to 641 kilometers ridden. I've got 27 hours and 40 minutes of seat time, and I've climbed 6,330 meters. The weather next week is forecast to be pretty good, or at least a lot better than this week. It's saying it's going to be dry, with temperatures ranging between 10 to 13 degrees Celsius. So the plan for me is to go out and get my 5 hours of seat time with a combination of indoors on the turbo trainer and maybe even a couple of actual road rides. Thanks for watching.